Welcome everyone to today's talk. And this month I'm going to be talking about how fear, or what is called abinivesha in the Yoga Sutras, if we're not careful, can come to completely dominate and limit our lives and the way that we feel about our lives. So one of the things that is what I find very interesting about the way in which fear, this abinivesha, is expressed in the Yoga Sutras is that it comes as a result of ignorance, or what is called avidya, as to our true nature or our true state. So one of the main goals, if not the main goal of yoga, is to know thyself, is to become aware of the consciousness within, or the self within, or the divine within, whichever particular pathway or linguistic system you feel more comfortable with. But essentially it's about self-knowledge. And what yoga tells us is that although, yes, we are embodied beings, we have bodies, we have minds, we have thoughts, we have experiences and so forth, beyond all of that, we are awareness, we are peace, we are stillness, we are expansive, and we are something which cannot be expressed in words that is beyond the body. Now, what's interesting when you read some of the ancient texts is that they talk about this consciousness, or this purusha or atman, as being full and complete. And perhaps most importantly, although it is the experiencer of the things that comes before it, it is not actually affected by the content of those experiences. So what that means is that when we are able to fully and completely identify as consciousness, or identify as the divine within, to know ourselves truly and experientially as that, we are full and we are complete, and we are satisfied and content in a way that is not achievable or possible through material means or through the material world. Now, one of the reasons why that's so interesting is because the Yoga Sutras states that when we are not aware of our true nature as just described, one of the symptoms of this ignorance, or this avidya, is abinivesha, it's fear. And essentially we can see the link that if one state where we are identified with the self is to feel full and complete, when we don't know ourselves, the opposite is also true. There is a sense of lack, there is somewhat of a hole in our center, if you like, and a sense that we are not complete, and that if we just have certain things present in our lives, then we can be satisfied and we can be full. As a result of that, through our minds projecting externally, through the senses helping our minds to connect to external objects, we are conditioned from a very, very early age to look externally for the things that are going to bring us completeness, fullness, and satisfaction in our lives. Whether that be through relationship with other human beings or animals or whatever it might be, whether it be through acquiring objects that we desire, whether it be musical instruments or houses or holidays or various things that we fill our lives with, we are essentially taught, and it is reinforced by our economic culture, we might say, that in order to feel satisfied, we need to have these external things. And when we have just the right amount of these external objects arranged in just the right order at just the right time, then we are told that we reach a state of satisfaction and contentment. But I think what we can all say, if we truly and deeply reflect on this, is that our experience may actually tell us otherwise. The more we accumulate, the more that we try to hold and attain and obtain, the more we realize that those things that we are drawing or holding inwards towards us are not actually the things that bring us satisfaction. And as a result of that, this is how fear can start to manifest and start to arise. Because, for example, we may have experiences of buying a certain object or having a certain relationship, which for a moment in time brings us a sense of completeness or a sense of satisfaction. But the more we have, the more we start to fear that if we lose those things, the opposite will also be true, that if we lose, for example, the place where we live, if we lose a relationship, if we lose an object which we work really, really hard to obtain, then we will start to feel empty again, then we will start to feel dissatisfied. So the fear then becomes that as we acquire things, whatever they may be, that we need to hold on to them with all of our might. And then if we can't hold on to them, if they disappear, if they're taken away from us, if we lose them, then we're going to end up in a state of dissatisfaction again. But the reality is that if we reflect truly and deeply on this, we will see that even whilst we have those things, there is a sense of needing more. There is a sense of needing to hold on to those things in order to retain that idealized sense of happiness or contentment, which actually, if we look at it deeply, we can understand that that means that we're still not content. Because if we were content, we wouldn't need to hold, we wouldn't need to acquire more. We would be completely satisfied with how things are in this very moment of time. So that brings me on to the other point about fear, which is essentially when we are not connected to our true nature as prescribed in the Yoga Sutras and many, many other beautiful ancient texts, it means that we are actually not able to be in the present moment and to appreciate the fullness and the completeness of everything that we actually have in this moment. And that is another reason why we start to project our mind forward and start to plan in order to have things or experiences that are going to make us feel comfortable in future moments of time. So one of the classic cases, particularly in the UK, where we have, a cold and dark winter, for example, is that people like to plan Easter and summer holidays during those winter months so that, as the saying goes, we have something to look forward to. And so what happens then is that we start to project our mind into the future and say, well, if I plan this at this moment in the future, then I can be satisfied. But the reality is that the more we practice this pattern of projecting our mind into the future and of not being comfortable and practicing a depth of connection to this present moment, when we arrive in the next present moment, which may be a holiday or it may be some kind of experience that we've planned, whatever it might be, we find that our mind has been trained to look forward. And then even as we're going on the holiday, we're thinking about what we're going to do tomorrow. We're thinking about what we're going to do when we get home. We're still not able to meld or to melt into connection with the present moment. And as a result of that, we begin to fear the present moment because we've not connected as deeply as we may possibly connect to it. Somehow it feels lacking. And therefore we fear that sense of boredom. We fear that sense of incompleteness. Simply really as a result of not being able to steady our minds on any given thing for any sustained period of time. And as a result, every experience starts to feel somewhat superficial. Now, this is one of the beautiful things that's taught by Eckhart Tolle, who many of you may know as the author of The Power of Now and one of the great modern spiritual teachers. He basically was asked once what he does for fun, and he says he likes to sit on his couch and stare at the wall, and he finds completeness in that experience. Now, to most of us, we may find that exasperatingly amusing in some ways, the idea that we could be entertained or consumed fully or complete or fulfilled just by sitting still and staring at the wall. But that's a really profound point that he's making there. What he's basically saying is that he doesn't need anything else apart from the experience of the present moment to feel fulfilled. And this reflects and reverberates with all of the ancient teachings that say, know yourself, because when you know yourself, you will know a completeness and a fullness that cannot be experienced by anything that you can attain or buy or acquire in this material life, in this material world. So because we project our mind forwards, because we're not capable in a lot of cases of being comfortable and grounded in the present moment, fear arises, one, because of what the future may bring and the fact that we may lose the things that we mistakenly identify with the possibility or the ability to be present and fulfilled in the moment. And equally, the more we project our mind forward, the less capable we are of actually grounding ourselves into the present moment and allowing that moment to take care of us in its fullness and completeness, knowing ourselves. So with that said, abinivesha or fear can really be overcome by noticing the way that the mind jumps forward, by noticing the way that we spend too much time in the future and noticing how difficult we find it to really penetrate the richness of the present moment. Each time you notice your mind wandering forwards, each time you notice your mind getting stuck in future planning and so forth, Challenge yourself gently to draw your mind back into this present moment. Connect to your breath. Connect to the sensations in the body. Connect to your environment around you and really look and feel and understand what is going on in this moment beyond thought, beyond the machinations of the mind. And the great promise of yoga is that the more we practice this, the more we will create new patterns in the mind, patterns of stability. And with that stability comes the possibility of contentment and reduction of fear by being present and living each and every moment in the now. So I hope that you found this talk useful. We'll continue with this theme of fear and what yoga has to say about it over the course of the next few videos. As always, I look forward to seeing you again soon and encourage you all to comment in this section below or to like the video because it really helps the channel to grow and to reach more and more people. So thank you once again. Namaste.